Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. It's our Black Friday sale. Recharge this season with a bundle of cozy, soothing comfort. Now only $17.99 for our C2 mattress and base, plus free premium delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Heritage Radio Network is supported by Visit Ithaca, where great minds meet the great outdoors. Check them out at visitithaca.com. Ithaca is known for outstanding dining. And here's a word from one of those great local businesses.
My name is Kukwa Jibodi Yomepe, and the name of the restaurant is Asempe Kitchen. I started out at the farmer's market, and the reception we received was so overwhelming that I thought it made sense to stay in the area. My goal so far has been to create some space for everybody who feels disenfranchised or feels like they're not represented to come together and have a place to be. So we have been working really hard to be more than just a restaurant. So like a place to just rest, get some really good food, and maybe some good conversation. We have community tables, and I kept the communal tables because of the way I feel about building community. The food is mostly vegetarian. It's from West Africa, mostly from Ghana. I'm originally from Ghana, West Africa. I've been in the US about 30 years. On Sundays, we do a brunch, and during brunch, we offer meat as an option to folks who eat meat. I'm very much a purist when it comes to the food. I like to offer people the authentic, stuff.
To plan your next trip or to find out more information, go to visitithaca.com.
Welcome to Pizza Quest. I'm Peter Reinhardt. Our Pizza Quest music Yoda, Peter Scott Ruben, is back for another trip to the Mount Rushmore of greatness. You may recall that during his last visit, we discussed the top 10 greatest singer entertainers of our generation with a special focus on the greatest of the greats, Frank Sinatra, followed by the man who would have been king had he not died so young, Bobby Darin. And then we talked about the amazing Ella Fitzgerald, Judy Garland, and on and on. If you missed that show, go to pizzaquest.com and type in Peter Scott Ruben in the search bar, and it'll take you to that episode. But this time, we're going to explore a similar but different top 10 list, the greatest rock band singers of all time. Not soloists, but those who made their bones fronting the great bands of our lifetime. Peter, as you may recall from his last visit, has the bona fides to weigh in on this subject as one of the finest guitarists and singers I've ever known, who fronted his own bands as well as his Frank Sinatra and Bobby Darin tribute shows, and who also has jammed with some of the all-time great guitarists, such as Joe Perry and Kim Simmons and others. This is a continuation of the debate we've had many times over the past 50 years, ever since Peter and I were in college together, spending hours at the famed Boston Tea Party to see newly arrived bands like Led Zeppelin, Spirit, Mountain with Leslie West, the Savoy Brown Blues Band, the Jay Giles Band, Faces with Rod Stewart, Humble Pie with Steve Marriott, and on in our misspent youth. And now we're bringing you in, our listeners, we're bringing you in on it. Buckle up for some serious, opinionated rock music talk in quest of the top 10 rock band singers, both male and female, of all time. Peter Scott Ruben, welcome back to Pizza Quest.
How are you? It's a pleasure.
I'm good. And you? It's been a while since we last talked.
Right. It's been one rotator cuff surgery ago.
That's right. Yes, you've been out of action for a few months and getting ready to get back onto the circuit, would you say?
Oh, I've been gigging for 2 months anyway.
Oh, all right. In pain. So you're bringing all the pain. Well, listen, before we dive into the greatest singers debate, I have to ask on behalf of our loyal pizza freak community, Do you recall during our days growing up in the Philadelphia suburbs what your favorite go-to pizzerias were? We should shout them out before diving down the Singer rabbit hole.
I do. And when I lived in Penwyn on Dorset Lane, across City, it used to be City Line Avenue. Now it's just City Avenue
Oh, right. That's the dividing line between Philadelphia and the
and the
suburbs.
suburbs.
Yeah.
That a couple blocks down, there was a pizzeria, Pagano's Pizza.
Oh, yeah. That was one of my go-tos.
And the box said, "You've tasted the rest, now taste the best."
Did so was that and that was close to where you live. So was that one of your go-tos?
That was the go-to place until I moved to Bala Cynwyd. Then it was Mama's.
And so Mama's was the same. Mama's is one that we've talked about a lot on this show. But when you lived in Penwyn, when for those who don't know the area, so Penwyn was maybe a mile or two further away from where Peter then later moved closer to me in Ballackinwood. There was a place called Boston style pizza. Do you remember
Boston
that?
style pizza, which was
On
run
Manoa
by
Road.
Manoa Road, yes, by a bunch of Greek guys.
Yeah.
And when this is probably 1966, maybe 67,
Yeah.
and a plain pizza was 90 cents.
No. And I remember those pizzas. They were very good. That was my first kind of experience with what we'll call Greek style pizza.
Yes.
It was a round pizza with a nice puffy crust, but it was smaller. It seemed
Yeah.
smaller in diameter.
But
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
Very
But
good.
in the end, we Mama's Pizza was the place that I love. Pagano's. They had a couple of locations, and we ate there a lot. But Mama's was the place. And for those who have been following the Mama's story on here, they're still making cheese sticks for I think another year, and then the owner Paul Jr. has decided to shut it down after what is it, 70 years in the game. And they
Unbelievable.
stopped making pizzas like 10 or 15 years ago. So Mama's Pizzeria has really been Mama's cheesesteaks,
Right.
which I've rated for years and years as the best cheesesteak in the world. And so that's what one of the things we have in common, aside from growing up near each other and then going off to Boston together and getting in all sorts of trouble up there. And then we all kind of went back into our lives, and you kept going with music, and you were, in the your father's orchestra, right? What was it, the Harold Rubin Orchestra, is it called?
Yes, for many years. When I
And
wasn't playing in rock
in
bands.
rock bands, yeah. So that was kind of like your dual life, and
Right.
then there you kind of experienced the great standards, the Frank Sinatra generation, and where kind of immersed yourself in both worlds, and but never stopped playing. And if I recall, a few years ago, you were in a tribute band, a Cream tribute band, where you played Eric Clapton, right? You put on an Eric Clapton wig, and you took the Eric Clapton role in this
I
tribute band,
did.
right?
And that was fun. That was
Well, maybe we'll see if any of those names pop up on this list. So, are you ready to kind of take us through? We'll start with, let's say, a top 10 list, and maybe eventually come up with a Mount Rushmore of the greatest of the greats. So
well,
let's do a countdown from 10 down.
well, when we were trying to come up with a topic for today that hadn't been talked about to death, and I texted you and I said, here's one, the top 10 rock vocalists from bands. When I sat down to write my list, it came out in a half a minute. Not in any particular order, not
Uh-huh.
from 1 to 10, but the top 10 came out bang.
And what
And then when I thought about it more, I had some honorable mentions, but those 10 names are still there. They came right out and they're still there. And I'll go through them with you. You
Well, most
ready?
of them now. What's the time frame? What are we talking about for people who don't kind of know the game here?
Well,
We grew up
classic
in the
rock.
'60s, but are you covering some names that maybe come up to contemporary times?
If I thought that there was anybody that
That's
was
good.
that good or had part of this is impact, and when you're young is when you're open to the impact. And and bands from the 80s, 90s and on, there may be some really good ones. They don't move me the way the bands in my youth and our youth moved me.
So the criteria for making this list, then, impact is one of the key criterias.
Absolutely.
Any other criteria you can cite that, and we'll get into it as we talk about each of them. By the
Just
way, I made my own list. I've got lots of names on here that I'm going to run by you, and
are.
many of which will probably not be on your list, but I'm guessing that there will be quite a few redundancies here too.
The ones that made me sit up and take notice, that I was in awe of their vocal range, their ability, their ability to translate notes and words into a song that changed my life.
Well,
Those guys,
yeah. So the change your life factor is a big criteria
yes,
in all this. Yeah.
that moved the needle.
Well, maybe some of these were people maybe we got to see together at various times. Give me one. Let's get the ball rolling. Start with one that maybe is not your top three, but somebody on that list.
Well, the first one that I wrote down, and it's two guys from the same band.
All right.
It's
Gotta be
John Lennon and Paul McCartney.
Gotta be Lennon and McCartney. I have it on my list, wondering if you were going to give both of them credit.
Both. They're both individually and together the two greatest probably ever. They were just off the charts. You can't say enough. And interestingly, which I found enjoyable, when Rolling Stone did its top 100 vocalists,
Yeah,
Lennon was one place higher than McCartney. And they
interesting.
cited the uniqueness of his voice, the unique timbre of his voice as the reason why. And I thought that was brilliant.
You talking about Lennon or McCartney?
Lennon.
So their voices were very different. Let's talk about Lennon then. What was it about his voice and differentiating? A lot of people just know the Beatles. They don't realize that Paul McCartney, sang lead on some songs. John Lennon sang lead on some songs. Later on, they gave George Harrison and Ringo a couple shots, but they dominated. At the beginning, I didn't know which one was which when I was a kid, and later on, as we got deeper into it, you could start to tell them apart. But what was it about Lennon's voice that you thought was so unique and great?
Well, Lennon, he and Ringo were the oldest guys in the band. And when you're 20 and 21 and 22, a year or two can make a big difference in terms of seniority. So in the beginning, it was John Lennon's band, and he was a quintessential rock and roll singer.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you go back to the early Beatles, anything that he sang, his version of Twist and Shout, he had no throat. They had been recording all day, and he just did it as a reference vocal to come back and do later because he had no throat left. It's one of the great rock and roll vocals of all time.
And which album was that on?
Twist and Shout, I don't know, because then you get into the British albums versus the American album.
Oh, yeah.
Probably was on the second Beatles album.
So very early Beatles. And it seemed like back then when they were first coming out that a lot of times he took the lead, and Paul McCartney was like that, the guy doing the harmonies. He was the one kind of like right behind him while he's playing the bass. He's coming in with this other sound.
Paul had the true tenor voice, could really hit those high harmonies, but McCartney could rock and roll too. He could rock and roll too. He had his share of screamers as well. The idea that Lennon was the rocker and McCartney was the balladeer is nonsense. They both did all of the styles magnificently. That's why they are still held in the esteem that they're. I'm just grateful that you and I happen to be the perfect age.
Yeah.
When they hit.
Yeah, we were just early teens.
Perfect.
And I wasn't one of the girls sitting in the front row fainting and screaming my head off, but my wife was. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
I saw them live.
You saw them live on that when they were touring the
Convention Hall, 1964.
1964. Well, that was like the first
11th row. My father took me, and I stood on his shoulders. And he held me up because that's how every kid in the place was standing on their father's shoulders.
Wow. Did that band?
I had those ticket stubs until my house got hit by lightning and burned down in 1989.
Oh my
I,
gosh!
I
Oh,
lost my box of ticket stubs.
all those mementos. Did when you saw them at that concert, would even as a young kid, did you feel like you're standing in the in this presence of greatness?
Well, back then, it wasn't a concert, it was a review,
Uh,
like 7 bands from England. So every
oh,
time a band came on, we thought it was them.
oh, really?
5 or 6 bands later, they finally came on, and I think they did about 25 minutes.
Do you remember the other bands?
Oh my God, I'm sure it was Jerry and the Pacemakers and Rory Storm and the Shadows.
Dave Clark Five?
Uh, they weren't around yet, I don't
No.
think.
Oh, okay.
Not quite. But it was a review, like Alan Freed had started here with
Interesting.
rock and roll reviews with 6 or 7 acts
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
show.
like when the Motown groups would all go out as like
Right,
six different groups. Yeah,
right,
so,
that's right.
I had no idea that because I didn't see them then. I was, I was there, but I didn't see that concert, and I didn't know that there was like a whole cluster of them because had they not gone on Ed Sullivan yet,
They had
so
they
they
had
was
one on
so they were
Sullivan.
already the headliners then. They were
Oh
the
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, well, should we count Lennon and McCartney as 1A or as a 10A and 10B, or should we give them a position, an individual position?
They each get their own number.
All right. Well, we got two down then. Uh, all right. I'm wondering who you got next.
The next one for me, and these are just the way they came into my brain as I sat down to write them. The next guy that comes up for me is Steve Miller.
Steve Miller. That's
Steve
interesting.
Miller is one of the most incredible vocalists that ever made records. And when he became popular in the mid 70s with what I call the AM hits, Jet Airliner, Rockin' Me, Swing Town, Take the Money and Run. To me, that's his bubblegum period.
Uh-huh.
The albums that we grew up on up in Boston. Steve Miller, the Steve Miller Band, Sailor, Brave New World, Your Saving Grace, Steve
Hmm.
Miller #5, Rock Love, Recall the Beginning, A Journey from Eden, all the things he did before he got famous. That's where his best work is.
Interesting. Well, that happened for a lot of performers. A lot of them who, like, for instance, started out in bands and then later broke away. I mentioned Rod Stewart as an example.
Yeah,
When we first saw him, he was just part of a band, and no one knew where how great he was going to become. But did something change for all these guys when they went out solo, or did some of them continue to kind of build on their origins?
it's a good question. Most most guys when they go solo can't match the quality of what they did in the group setting, and the Beatles to me is the prime example, and I get into arguments with people all the time. I maintain that none of the four matched anything that they ever did with the group even close. People rave. "Well, what about George Harrison?" When that album came out in Boston in our dorm, we all hated that album so much that we named it All Things Must Pass Gas.
I don't remember
I
that.
swear to God, it was muddy. Phil Spector had produced it. His voice was thin. Nobody wanted to hear him singing about religion and the Lord. We wanted rock and roll.
Mhm.
And we hated the album. All 3 discs of it, we hated it. Personally, I still do.
All right, so George didn't make the list,
No,
but Steve Miller did,
Steve
and
Miller.
and of course now many people who are younger than us who are listening will might know and be more familiar with his later work, the bubblegum period as you called it, but that early period, what? And I was never a big Steve Miller band. I knew him, but I wasn't a huge fan. So what was maybe their most signature song from that
Well, on
band?
the first album, the Steve Miller, actually, it originally was the Steve Miller Blues Band, but then it became the Steve Miller Band. A lot of people don't know that the other lead singer in that band was Boz Scaggs.
Bob Skaggs, right?
Boz
That's
Scaggs
yeah,
and Steve
that's right.
Miller, and the the breakout song from their very first album was "Living in the USA." Do,
Okay, that's
do,
the
do,
one that I
do, do,
remember.
do.
That was the one that got them on the, on everyone's radar.
Great song. The next album, well, that wasn't the Children of the Future was the first album, which didn't have any singles. Sailor was the second album with Living in the USA. The third one was his breakout album, Brave New World, and the big hit from that album was Space Cowboy.
All right. Yeah. What?
Also on that album,
Yeah.
which many people don't know because it's not credited, the last track of the album is called My Dark Hour. Great, great track. And there's only two musicians on it, Steve Miller and Paul McCartney.
No kidding. Yeah.
McCartney's playing drums and bass. Steve Miller's playing all the guitars, and they're both doing the vocals. And I wished that they had more of a collaboration later on because McCartney's solo work could have used the dose of balls that Lennon gave him. Steve Miller had that as well.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
But they
And
never, it's the only track they ever did together. My Dark Hour.
and when he went off on his own then later or started other bands, Boss Skaggs went off on his own too, right? They split or did they
Yeah.
stay together? And wasn't Elvin Bishop part of that little group too? Was he part of their?
Elvin
happened
Bishop,
later?
no, Elvin Bishop started with Paul Butterfield.
Oh, okay.
He
For
was
some
the
reason I thought
second
he was with
guitar
Boss.
player to Mike Bloomfield in
Oh,
Paul
okay.
Butterfield's blues band.
Right. Okay.
And then
Yeah.
Elvin went out on his own and had the big hit, Fooled Around and Fell in Love with the singer Mickey Thomas, who
Right.
was the lead vocalist for what became the Jefferson Starship.
They're all connected. All and of course those were the San Francisco crew,
Right.
and the Bay Area. So all right, so we got Steve Miller, who by the way in that Rolling Stone like top singers didn't even make the list. I don't think I didn't see his name on the top whatever it was 50 or 200 singers.
I a glaring oversight. He was one of the first guys, if not the first, to double and triple track his own voice. When the Beatles needed harmony, they had three guys who could sing. Steve Miller double and triple tracked his own voice, and the sound of that was like a choir. And he had endless range. One of the things that makes these guys great is their range. They can sing as high as they want. They sing whatever they want.
Interesting.
And he could do that.
So a lot of people don't realize that he was also a great voice, not just a great performer.
Fabulous, fabulous singer. The
All
next
right.
next guy that came up for me, the greatest front man of all time, Mick Jagger.
Yeah, he's got to be on this. I was
Gotta be.
thinking he might be in, like on many of the lists, he's like number one or two. So, but he's
Not-
not on your top four, I would say, right?
Not the purest, greatest voice, but can you picture anyone else singing Rolling Stones songs? No.
No.
No. And the quintessential front man.
Yeah.
And Mick, he's known for his dancing on stage or his movements. He never
Yeah.
stands still. That came about. He used to just stand there and hold the microphone like frontmen did.
Yeah.
Until 1965, they were on the Tammy Show. Do you remember the Tammy Show?
Was that kind of like Hullabaloo or something like
It
that?
was a big concert. It was telecast, black and white. The Beach Boys, a lot of bands. James Brown went on right before the Rolling Stones.
Wow.
And Mick Jagger saw James Brown do his dance moves.
Yeah.
And he came out. They were the next band. And he came out and he was moving just all over the stage. He looked silly.
Yeah.
It took him a while to get those moves down, but I
Yeah.
give him credit for having the guts to say, you know what? I'm going to do that.
Yeah. I mean, he
That was-
did
he saw
perform like he
James
had
Brown.
no shame at all.
No shame.
Yeah. So he owes that whole part of his act to James Brown.
James Brown.
Well,
and
there's
the
a
Tommy
there's
Show.
a piece of trivia for everyone to tuck away.
There you go. The
Well,
next guy that-
he's definitely.
next guy that-
Wait, I just got to say, Mick Jagger is definitely, like you said, as an all-around performer, he's king of the hill. But
he's the front man by which all other front men are measured.
right,
He's number one and always will be.
cool.
The next guy that came up for me, um, from Led Zeppelin, Robert Plant.
I knew he'd be on your list. Yeah.
He's on my list.
And
Um,
he's having a great new surge. He's what is it, 50 years later, and he's back with a whole new gig.
he
Uh,
never stopped.
no, and
He
he's
never stopped.
reinvented himself a number of times.
His work, I'm one of those people, people who love Led Zeppelin love them from the beginning to the end. Not me.
Uh,
For me, Zeppelin 1 and 2 are desert island albums. They're as good as any two albums ever made. And after that, after two, for me, they fell off the cliff. And
well,
Plant, but what Plant did on those first two albums just blew me away. Those performances hold up. His range was off the charts.
yeah, yeah. Wasn't he
And
kind of like the original wailing voice, that high,
yeah,
screeching wailing voice that?
yeah, he was the first guy I knew who had that kind of a range. And he was, I think when Page found him, he was 18 or 19.
Really?
He's only a couple years, I think he was born in 48, maybe 49. He's like our contemporary. Because most of these guys were born in the early to mid 40s. But
That's
Plant is very close. He was spectacular with the blonde flowing
Well,
hair.
that's the other thing. He had like the best hair in the world.
Yeah.
Made me very jealous.
I saw them once at the Spectrum, and we argue that you were and weren't there because I say that you got us the seats in the press box for the two nights of the Spectrum shows.
But I probably I may have gotten your seats, but I didn't get to go.
The second night was Al Cooper, who had just left Blood, Sweat, and Tears,
Wow.
Buddy Guy, and this is the order: Al Cooper, Buddy Guy, Led Zeppelin, Jethro Tull, and Johnny Winter.
Johnny Winter.
Johnny Winter.
That's another
And they had
member
to
from the
pull the
past.
plug on Zeppelin because they wouldn't stop.
And the audience probably was happy, didn't want him to stop, right?
It was these they were empty. These concerts were empty. Nobody knew who these bands were yet. The night before was Frank Zappa, Jeff Beck, Savoy Brown, Sly and the Family Stone, and the Mothers of Invention. These
Wow.
concerts on a Friday and Saturday, they were to be known as the Spectrum Pop Flops.
You know what? I know who got you those tickets. It was my brother, Fred. Fred was working for
Probably.
he was working for this for the film what you call the Electric Factory group, and he had access to all that. So he probably got you the tickets, and but he never offered them to me. But I who knows where I was at that point,
Yeah,
you
who
know?
knows?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna when I see him soon, I'm gonna bug him about that.
There you
Well,
go.
that's cool. Well, those were some amazing concerts to see these guys before they became,
Yes.
iconic the way they did.
Yes. Yes. The next guy I saw at the arena in August of 68. It was without a doubt the hottest concert. I don't mean hot good, I mean hot temperature.
Uh,
It was like 100 degrees in there. People were passing out. Um, there were three bands. The first band was a band from New York called All That the Name Implies, which nobody ever heard of.
no, or since, yeah,
The second band was the Mandrake Memorial.
Philadelphia's
Yeah,
finest. Yeah, yeah.
Philadelphian Zone, who I love. And the headliners were the Doors.
The Doors. Wow. Yeah,
And Jim Morrison, he may be my favorite of all time.
really.
He's up there for me in so many ways. His voice, he loved Sinatra. He is
Uh,
his big influence. He had that deep voice with the heavy vibrato.
yeah,
That's Sinatra.
interesting. I didn't know. Who would have guessed?
Who would have guessed? And his lyrics and his stage presence, and he was stunningly good looking. He's right up there for me. I feel a real kinship to that guy and that band. They really blew me away.
They were so off the chart different from everybody else that many people couldn't deal with them the first time around. It took a while until Light My Fire came out, nobody really, I think, not everybody took him seriously. Then all of a sudden, everybody was on board.
And Morrison didn't write that. Robbie Krieger wrote that.
The guitar player.
He wrote
Yeah,
Light My Fire. But
interesting.
Morrison was so that band.
Yeah,
He was just he may be more that band. Plan had Page, Jagger had Richards. Morrison may be more that band than any singer ever was to any other band. He's right up there. He's right
well,
up there.
my
When he
brother
died,
Fred.
I was that they all hurt.
Yeah, yeah. My brother, I think, I don't know if he got you those tickets, but he was the guy who introduced me to the Doors. He was way ahead of me on a lot of these bands, and the Doors was one of his discoveries, and I didn't get it at first, and then, but I think he probably was at the same concert you were at.
This next guy, well, not only the Beatles, the entire British invasion blew me away because it was the first real rock that we heard. American music was lighter. It was the Beach Boys. Motown was great, but it wasn't rock. It was soul. It was R&B.
Right.
Phenomenal. But I mean, the first time and we heard You Really Got Me by the Kinks,
Uh-huh.
everything changed. Everything changed. That hard, gritty edge, that distorted guitar, we'd never heard it before.
Yeah. Yeah. People refer to them now as the forerunners to punk.
Yeah. And the vocalist who moved me the most, and the band that I love with the Animals, Eric Burden.
Eric. Oh yeah, that's right.
House of the Rising Sun, Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood, It's My Life, Don't Bring Me Down. Another young kid, and with a voice, just he was that whole band. They might have been the best musicians of any of the early British invasion bands. Every member of that band was a good musician. They had a bona fide keyboard player, a bona fide guitar player, and their bass player, Chaz Chandler, was the musician who discovered Jimi Hendrix in New York and brought him back to England.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
It's a lot more behind the scenes that we knew about with those guys.
But Eric Burden,
Yeah.
and then he did Spill the Wine with War. Spill the wine, did that girl. He took over this black R&B band and fronted it and had a top 10 hit with Spill the Wine.
Interesting. Yeah, he was back in those days when they had the TV show was what was it called? Hullabaloo was one of the shows, and then there was another one that Shindig, yeah, and they would showcase the bands, and they all got to do one number on the show. But he was on, I think, as I recall, more than almost any other band, the Animals.
And what a great name.
Yeah.
All the British bands, the Animals, the Kinks,
Yeah.
the Zombies. I mean, great names. Just
Well,
great names.
it represented a real paradigm shift for our culture when they came over. It changed everything because, like you say, up until then, American music was dominated by more poppy kind of songs, and it was fun, good music, but it wasn't what came over from Britain when the mid '60s, and everything changed after that.
The next guy, let's see, who do I have next? Oh, two guys from bands in the 70s. The first one is Paul Rodgers, who was the lead singer with Bad Company.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They weren't a top tier band for me. They just didn't quite get over the top for me. But Paul Rodgers as a singer, spectacular vocalist. His first band was Free, and the big hit was All Right Now. Dun, 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 All Right Now. That was Paul Rodgers with Free.
Rodgers.
Then he formed Bad Company, and everywhere he went, he was in a band later with Jimmy Page called The Firm. But everywhere Paul Rodgers went, he has filled in with Queen for Freddie Mercury. He's one of the few guys that can hit those notes. Paul Rodgers, world class vocalist. world class.
Interesting. And
Well,
again, I was sitting out that era. I was living in a monastery then, so I missed a lot of those bands in the mid 70s.
the other group from the 70s,
It's got to be. Well, what about Freddie Mercury? Wasn't he 70s?
Freddie he's on my honorable mention list
Okay. All right.
because their music didn't do it for me. Blues, hard rock,
Yeah, you were
blues,
into different,
oriented. They
more
were very
focused.
theatrical, you know, uh, they were good. I mean, they got a great guitar player, Brian May,
Yeah.
fabulous guitar player. But on the whole, they just didn't, like I never bought an album. There's three British bands that I didn't get. Queen, Genesis, and Pink Floyd.
Oh, interesting.
They
Yeah.
just all three whoosh, didn't do it for me. Never did it
A
for me.
swing and a miss.
Yes. But then this next guy, and
Yeah.
another great name. The band is Foreigner.
Oh, yeah.
They called the band Foreigner because there were three guys from Britain and three guys from America. So
Is that the?
wherever they were part foreigner.
Oh, yeah, I
And,
got you.
and
Yeah.
their
So
lead singer was Lou Graham.
Lou Graham.
Lou
What's
Graham, and he feels like the first time you're as cold as ice. I mean, everything. This guy, until he, unfortunately, he had problems with his voice and was replaced by a guy, Kelly, I forget his name, and that guy, the replacement guy is now retiring. He did
yeah.
25 years with the band, but
Yeah.
Lou Graham, one of Jukebox Hero, one of the great all-time rock voices, and he could hit any note that there was to hit, he could hit. He was, so again, these are the guys who bang, bang, bang,
Yeah.
just came to me. Great and a great band. Foreigner, four really terrific albums and four great albums is tough to do. There aren't a lot of bands with four great albums.
Was it what band was Steve Perry in?
Steve Perry was in Journey.
Oh, Journey. Yeah. Okay.
He's another guy. If I liked the band better, he'd be on my honorable mention. Yeah, great voice,
Yeah.
but just
The band didn't do it for you, but he as a singer
yeah.
was good.
Now
Right.
that band, interestingly, their guitar player was Neil Schon.
Uh,
Neil Schon got his start on Santana 3 when he
mhm.
was 16 years old.
Right.
So he's younger than us.
Yeah.
He was the guitar and the keyboard player in Journey was Greg Rowley, who was Santana's keyboard player.
So there's
So Journey started as a pretty heavy outfit, but then they became what they became with the very well-known hits,
yeah.
which, but Steve Perry's another one, blew his voice out. He, couldn't sing anymore.
Is that right? Okay.
But
I thought maybe he was still around and still doing it, but he pretty much
oh,
had to step back.
no,
Okay.
yeah, he's gone.
All
The
right. Well,
next
we
guy,
got to be coming down now to kind of the tops.
let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I saved the best for last.
Yeah, but how many left on your list?
Well, I think we did Lennon 1, 2, Miller's 3, Jack 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is
So
number 10,
number
not number 10 in order, just the
yeah.
one Jack Bruce from Cream.
Well, I was good. That's one I was going to ask about. Yeah, and he didn't
Jack
make the
Bruce.
Rolling Stone list of tops, but I thought, how could he not be on there? I mean, I knew that you would put him on. So let's talk about Jack Bruce because he was phenomenal.
When Ahmet Ertegun from Atlantic Records was turned on to Cream, he envisioned it as Eric Clapton and his backup band. He wanted Eric to take center stage and the other two guys to be backup. Jack Bruce was way too good for that to happen. He was a much, much, much better singer than Clapton.
Yeah, way better. Yeah,
Yeah, way better. And given the impact that that band had in 2 years,
yeah,
to this day, I play guitar the way I play guitar because of the way Eric Clapton played in Cream. Period. Period. That's it. He was my guy.
yeah.
And then Jimmy and Jimmy Page and Jimi Hendrix. But Clapton's playing in Cream hit me where I live, and was one of the things in life that I had to do was get to the point where I can play like that.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
I got pretty close. I mean, nobody his playing in Cream is underappreciated and underrated because Hendrix came out right on the heels of Cream, and Hendrix got all the attention. But
Yeah.
Clapton's guitar playing in Cream is spectacular.
Well, it was a game changer for so
Yeah,
many, for music in general, for fans. I'm going to throw some names out. So that's your whole list. The
that's
ones
my
that we,
top
but
10.
all right, let's talk about some of your honorable mentions who probably could theoretically have landed on the list as well.
Well, Hendrix was a fantastic. Every His guitar playing was so amazing
Yeah.
that three things got overlooked by Hendrix. The first was his songwriting.
Mm,
His songwriting is fabulous. His lyrics, everyone talks about Dylan's lyrics.
yeah.
I'll take Hendrix's lyrics as top.
Wow.
There are certain songs that he has that are just unbelievable. And his voice
Yeah.
that is fantastic. He was shy
Yeah.
to sing at first. He grew into it real quickly.
Yeah.
So he's on my honorable mention. Freddie Mercury, we talked about. Roger Daltrey from The Who.
He was on my. I was wondering if he would be on your list. I thought might be on it.
The Who didn't have enough catalog that I loved for me to. I loved some of the singles. I loved My Generation. I loved Pinball Wizard. I loved I Can See for Miles.
Yeah.
But how many times can you listen to a rock opera? It gets tedious. So their one album that is an all-time album is Who's Next.
Yeah.
Perfect album, perfect from beginning to end, all-time desert island album. So
I saw
Daltrey,
Pete Townsend was on TV the other night on Stephen Colbert, and he's still around. He's still he's coming. He's back. He never has gone away. Um,
and he's
but
virtually deaf.
yeah, exactly. And that it was the band that was a good example of a band that really worked as a band and then made each of its players great because the band was so good. It was like the synergy of the combo was phenomenal.
Keith Moon, great drummer. Entwistle, great bass player. Townsend, not a great lead guitar player. That
No.
wasn't his thing. But
No.
texturing the guitar and rhythm guitar
Yeah.
and the parts that he came up with, I think he's the best rhythm guitarist ever with Keith Richards second.
And of course he pioneered the windmill strum,
Which he stole
from
Keith Richards. He saw the Stones were doing a sound check. And during the sound check, Keith did the windmill motion, never did it again.
No kidding.
Yeah, and Pete Townsend saw it and stole it.
Sometimes you don't have to be first. You just have to go for it.
Right.
You know what he said? He said something I never would have thought. He was talking about in the early days when they would go on and they would do like 6 sets, and one of these reviews.
Right.
And he said, and after each set, he would break his guitar. And then he would go back during the in-between with glue and he would glue his guitar back together again because he didn't have a replacement guitar for
Right.
So he would get 3 or 4 or 5, generations out of one guitar, even after he broke it into bits. He would just glue it back together again.
Yeah, sure. Who had the money for replacement guitars?
Right. Never would have thought of that.
The last guy I have on my honorable mention is a band that's been called the American Rolling Stones, Aerosmith, and Steven Tyler.
Well, you got to play with them when they were just coming up, didn't you?
I jammed with them in their house on Commonwealth Avenue many, 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 many times. Many times.
And they were just
all
kids then.
Young pups.
Yeah.
But Steven Tyler, great frontman, great vocalist. He's up there.
Okay.
And they certainly had the longevity
Yeah.
and the catalog to back that up.
Well, before
Who did you have? Tell me some people you
have. All right, I'll tell you some of the ones I was going to ask you about. But and then I want to leave a little time to talk about some of the great women singers.
Okay.
So here's one that I've been obsessing about lately. I don't know that his band would be considered hard rocker, but he was a singer during our era in a quote rock and roll band. Burton Cummings from the Guess Who.
Good band, good singer, definitely a good singer. Um, for me, he it worked. What he did with that band, it worked. But his style was, to me, very, very, very limited. He sang kind of everything the same way, and there wasn't a lot of variation. I like to hear from ballad to rock to this to slow to fast. He was it's not a bad choice. He could bring it.
He's
Let's put it
still
that
and
way.
he's still around. He's still performing, and he just got just some. I wasn't into him back then. I mean, the Guess Who was a pop band, a popular
Yeah,
band,
they were an AM band. Yeah.
but I wasn't. I liked their songs. They were catchy. They wrote terrific hooks. But then recently, when I heard him again, I realized, my God, this guy has a phenomenal voice, and there's something about it there's a stickiness to it.
It's unique. He's got a
Yeah,
unique quality.
and rich, and there was a richness about it too that not all these singers had. So anyway, he was somebody. Um, some names that came to me, or that might have made it. Rod Stewart himself, when he says he started before he became Rod Stewart. He was part of the Faces and some other bands.
His first band, he was in the Jeff Beck group.
Oh, really?
When
Yeah.
I saw Beck on those at that Friday Night Spectrum concert, Rod Stewart was the singer. Yeah.
Huh.
They didn't get along. He left. He then joined. I didn't like Faces. I didn't like. I think it's pretty safe to say I don't like anything Rod Stewart ever did after he was with Jeff Beck. When I was playing bass in disco bands, he had a couple, Do You Think I'm Sexy? It gave us a nice song to play. But uh and then the most recently he's put out 4 or 5 great American songbook albums. He's
Yeah.
done standards,
Yeah.
which surprisingly, given the gruffness and the gravel in his voice, you wouldn't think he could pull those songs off, but he does.
Yeah.
He
Yeah. Because
does.
he's really a stylist more than a vocalist in that regard.
I didn't think it would work.
I didn't think that he'd go anywhere because I didn't think his voice was so great, from the beginning. But it was so unique, and he made it work.
And he had the look. He had the spiky hair
Yeah.
and he wore the flashy clothes. He was definitely a rock star.
I'll throw a couple more names out before we move into the women. Okay, Sting.
Sting's name came up. Yeah, I thought about Sting. Great Police, great band.
Yeah.
Three great musicians, and Sting is very talented guy. Uh, I just didn't get. Maybe it's because they were later. They
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
late 70s into the 80s. Maybe the time to be really moved had passed for me. I
Yeah.
love him. I think he's great, he's not a top 10 for me. But
Here,
great voice.
here's
No.
one that I didn't follow at all back, then, and only recently, because he recently died, I started thinking about is Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, because I didn't know that he was such a good singer. They were playing clips because I never listened to Black Sabbath, and all of a sudden playing these clips, and I went, my God, the guy had a really good voice.
Well, if you remember, in Miles Standish Hall, there were a lot of musicians,
Yeah.
a lot of guitar players, a lot of musicians. And we thought we knew what was good and what wasn't good. We were snobs. When Black Sabbath came out, they to us were like Blue Cheer.
Yeah. Yeah.
They didn't even count. They didn't count.
Well, they seem like a gimmick band in a way.
They weren't even in the game.
Yeah.
Now, later on, as years went by and Ozzy kept surviving, people went back and embraced, what he did with Black Sabbath. But when they came out, they didn't exist.
Interesting.
Didn't exist.
All right, I'm going to throw out a group of names with just real quick comments, and then I don't want to run out of time before we talk about the women.
Okay. The
A
women is
couple,
easy. The women is easy.
okay, a
I
couple
got the
names.
women covered in 2 minutes.
Well, Janis Joplin and who else?
Right.
But here's a few names that kind of made on these other lists. And I started thinking, yeah, they've been impactful, but again, maybe not in an era that it was impactful for us. People like Chris Cornell, Michael Stipe, Jack White, David Lee Roth, Eddie Vedder, Anthony Kiedis, Axl Rose. These are like the next generation guys. But I didn't know that Axl Rose has like a 7-octave vocal range. And I read about that recently just because I never was following them. But apparently these guys had some chops.
The only guy that you mentioned in that list that I don't hate was David Lee Roth.
David Lee Roth.
David Lee Roth. David Lee Roth I admire because he was a real persona. Even in Van Halen, he created the persona of David Lee Roth, was the front man with the lion hair.
Yeah.
But then in the mid 80s, he had the guts to break away and Just a Gigolo. That was a hit for Louis Prima in the 50s. California Girls. He redid California Girls.
That's right.
Two major hits. Now I love David Lee Roth. I think he's great.
That's
and
interesting.
I loved Van Halen too. I can't play like that. My playing stopped before tapping came in. I can't do any of that stuff.
With those guys.
But the other guys you mentioned, I don't like their bands. I don't like their music. They're not on my radar.
Well, of course there's others that many names have been left off. And everyone who's listening, hopefully you've got opinions on this. Write to us. Write to me at peter@pizzaquest.com and weigh in on this. And who knows, when we come back next season with some new shows, we got to get Peter back on for another round. But let's go through some women. So
I have three.
Just three that would make the list. Okay.
Three define the genre. You mentioned one, Janis Joplin.
Janis Joplin.
Yeah, not the prettiest voice, she wasn't a pretty singer, but I can't think of any other artist, male or female, who built a career. Let's face it, she built a career on one song. The live version of Piece of My Heart from Big Brother and the Holding Company. Early live recording, 1968, one of the greatest live recordings ever. And she launched a career from that song. I can't think of anybody else where one song did it for them. And it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. And I saw her at Woodstock.
And she's unique no one could imitate her. She's one of a kind.
Blues singer from top to bottom, the real deal. Look, the fall of 70 was with her and Jimi Hendrix, and then the tragedy, and they were all 27.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all 27.
All right, I'm going to throw out a name I'm going to
Grace Slick. Grace Slick.
Okay, Grace Slick.
Grace Slick.
She's on my list here. But I have one more I was going to throw and see if she made your list. It's my prediction if she makes your list, and that would be Linda Ronstadt.
Not a band. There's no band.
Stone Ponies?
She was in the Stone Ponies for 5 minutes.
Okay, so
that doesn't qualify.
One of her biggest hits was with them, but
different drum.
Yeah,
was her hit, but no, she's been a solo artist forever.
Okay,
that's another category with her and Joni Mitchell and people like that.
Okay, so Grace Slick with Jefferson Airplane.
Again, not the greatest voice, but the impact. The earliest psychedelic songs that I can remember hearing on the radio were White Rabbit and Somebody to Love, 1967.
Right.
Great, both of them great songs. They still hold up. Somebody to Love and White Rabbit, they both hold up.
Yeah.
And after that, there's only one other lady for me, and she's Ann Wilson from Heart.
That's what I was going to predict that. I have her down here on the list. I was going to ask you, but I didn't know if she was too recent. I mean, she just
No.
got it right after the next round after
Yeah,
these
mid,
guys.
yeah, mid toward
Late,
late 70s.
yeah,
Phenomenal voice, and the band was great.
yeah, yeah.
Magic Man, Barracuda, they brought it. They brought it. And her sister, Nancy,
Nancy,
who
yeah,
was
the guitar
beautiful.
player,
It's
yeah.
beautiful. So you had the singer and both women, yes. And I'm not a fan of women in rock, which everyone who knows me knows. It's a male-dominated field. Let it stay that way. But she's undeniably one of the greats. And I can't think of I couldn't think of anybody else.
Well, and of course and I was having my list is much shorter on the women's side too because I was trying to think who would meet, and some of the ones that they probably don't qualify because they weren't rock and roll singers, but they were singers in a group who emerged, and one was Diana Ross,
Anna Ross. Yeah.
Diana Ross, uh, Stevie Nicks, uh, Chrissy Hind, Debbie Harry, Annie Lennox.
Oh,
Well, she's really more of a, she's a personality in her own right. But then the one who's kind of a sentimental favorite of mine, um, who died around the same time as the others, is Mama Cass Elliot.
oh, oh, oh. Now that's interesting.
Yeah, I
That's
thought,
interesting.
yeah,
That's interesting. Mama Cass.
yeah,
Yeah,
because she
she goes
had
on she's not honorable mention. She goes on the list.
she's had a unique voice, and she was the glue that held that group together.
She sang lead on a lot of the things, and she
Yeah,
was in a band, and they not quite rock and roll, but
they were
they were in the era.
yeah, they were folk rock really.
I'm
But they were impactful.
giving you absolutely Mama
All
Cass.
right, so I scored one.
Oh yeah,
All
good
right.
one.
Well, we covered a lot of ground, and we've gone for about an hour, so the time has flown by as usual.
Always.
I'm enjoying it. I hope that you, the listeners, and those who are following along with us, are having as much fun with this as possible. We want you to weigh in. Remember, Peter at pizzaquest.com. Write to me. We'll share all that. And then if you'll come back again in the spring when we start a new season, we'll come up with another new topic that we can explore together. I love having people who are on their own. You have a quest of your own that is different from Pizza Quest. Pizza Quest is my quest. You're a music quest guy, and it's your life.
Sure.
You have the passion and fire, and it burns in your belly so deep that for you, it's, we always say Pizza Quest is more about the quest than it is about the pizza. And I don't know anybody who's on fire with his personal quest as you are with your music. So thank you, and for all the passion you bring to it.
Can I give you my Mount Rushmore on male vocalists?
Absolutely. Let's finish with that.
Okay. For this, if it's supposed to be four, I'm going to cheat. If
Okay,
it's four, I'm going to count Lennon and McCartney as
as
one.
one. Okay, they share a space on the
Lennon's
mount.
like all their songwriting credits.
Yeah.
Lennon McCartney,
One
they count as
one will
one.
be facing one way, one will be facing the other way.
That's right. Steve Miller,
Steve Miller. Yeah, that's going to be an outlier that a lot of people wouldn't have thought of. Okay.
Jim Morrison, and Jack Bruce.
Jack Bruce. Jack Bruce?
Jack Bruce.
Yeah, Jack Bruce.
I can't add anybody to that, and I can't leave any of them off.
And for anyone who's listening who maybe is from a different era and is not familiar with the work of Cream, and especially focusing in on the voice of Jack Bruce, re-listen to it. Get him on your playlist and listen to that voice because it's haunting. I think he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And well, thank you so much, Peter. We're looking forward to the next round. Hopefully, I'll see you sometime in the spring up in Philadelphia when we reconnect back up there in our hometown. And I want to thank all of you for joining us this season of Pizza Quest. This will be our last episode for the fall season, and we're going to take a little break. We're going to come back in the winter with a new round of episodes. So join us then. And until then, may all of your pizzas be perfect, and may you all find the quest that delivers purpose and meaning to your life.
And thanks
so
for
much.
having me.
Thank you, Peter. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.